Sammy and I.
Literally a Jekyll and Hyde, because I'll be really nice and then Michelle will take the phone and go aggressive on them. Like, this woman has completely transformed.
Wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammy and Michelle.
We're not going to bury the lead. The number one reason to track your net worth is because it leads to an abundance mindset.
Ooh.
Especially during this past sabbatical year, where I was not bringing in money from working, it was really nice to track my net worth.
That's a surprise.
It is a surprise for me as well. I would be going about noticing that I'm spending actually more than usual, and then I'd go track my net worth and I'd find out that it was higher than before.
How's that if you're not working?
Investments. And that's the great thing about tracking your net worth. It really reframes everything. When I first started tracking my net worth, I was negative because of my student loans. Then slowly over time, I saved and invested, and my net worth became positive and then very positive. And then now, even though I'm not working, even though I'm spending more money than last year, my net worth is even more positive than before. And that is really reassuring. It brings in a huge abundance mindset, and it makes me really grateful for everything I've done in the past to get to this point.
I love that, Sammy. And I think this is such an important topic because a lot of times we can be afraid of our net worth. We can be afraid of looking at how much money we have, how many assets we have, and how that goes against our liabilities. But the truth is, one of the best ways to start tackling money anxiety or money fears is to do the math. And so we're going to talk today about reasons why it's so valuable to track your net worth.
Let's get into it.
But first, I want to talk about somebody, a partner of ours, who will help you with your net worth, hopefully. AirHelp. AirHelp is so helpful because if you're like me and Sammy and you've been flying around this country, the United States of America, or any other countries that they support, UK, Brazil, different countries in Europe, you may have experienced delays. You may have gotten grounded in Dallas, Texas overnight, and nobody, not the airlines, nobody wants to help you because they have to help thousands of people. AirHelp will help you though. You give them your passenger information, your boarding pass information. They will go and fight the good fight for you with the airlines to see if you can be compensated through some air passenger rights. It helps saves you time and it puts money back into your pockets. So check the link in our show notes for AirHelp. Back to our topic. Before we get into why knowing your net worth is important, I thought Investopedia had a great piece on this, why knowing your net worth is important, and they give us a really great definition for your net worth. Your net worth is the amount by which your assets exceed your liabilities. In simple terms, net worth is the difference between what you own and what you owe. If your assets exceed your liabilities, you have a positive net worth. Conversely, if your liabilities are greater than your assets, you have a negative net worth. So essentially, you're looking at the positive money makers in your life, whether that's money in your savings, your home, maybe your car, depending on where you're at there, maybe jewelry, maybe money you have in your investments, versus your liabilities, any debts you have, student loan, credit card debt. You take those numbers and you can put them into a spreadsheet. Sammy and I can share a really great spreadsheet where you just can plug in your numbers and calculate your net worth. But today we're focused on why it's valuable.
The most obvious reason to track your net worth is so that you can track your wealth.
Go figure.
When you track your net worth, you see how much your money is growing or how much you're losing. And I think from a spiritual perspective, this is actually huge. Because When we track our net worth, when we see that our money is growing, we are a steward of our money, even if it's not growing, even if it's decreasing, even if the market's down and things are lower than normal. The things that we're keeping an eye on it. We're not only managing our money, but we're managing our time, because time is money too. If you're working a lot and you're spending it all, then you are a poor steward of both your money and both your time. And call me crazy, but I personally think that both money and time like to come to the people who are very good stewards of it. There were multiple times at my previous job in San Jose where they accidentally overpaid me. Of course, as a highly integrated human being, I did bring this to their attention. But I think it's because the money was scared to stay with the old company. They weren't managing it well. The money wanted to come to me, and I understood. I'm like, money, I understand. You want to be with me because you feel safe with me, because I'm managing you, because I'm looking at you, because I'm taking the time to make sure you are used wisely, and you do not feel safe at all with this other company. That's how money is. That's how time is. When we watch it, more comes to us.
Yes, Sammy. I think there's a very positive spiritual aspect to this. And when it comes to tracking your net worth and knowing your wealth, I think there's also something to be said about the physical grounding of it as well. A lot of people, you start to make money, maybe your income that's coming in, you might be putting a little bit to the side for certain things like savings or investments. But oftentimes people have a lot of anxiety around money. You might have a big spending month. Like when we moved, we were spending a lot of money. And you start to feel that anxiety when you're writing these big checks to ship your car across the country, to get a box to pack your things. But when I could go back and look at the money that I had, I could at least be at ease. I could say, I did spend this money, but I still have money. It also helped me make intelligent decisions. Is it worth it to spend money on sending my car? Or should I try to find a cheaper alternative? Tracking your net worth is the first step to easing your money anxiety. Even if it's negative, even if you feel scared about what you have to do, it still helps because ignoring it just makes it fester in the back of your mind and it will drive you crazy.
It will drive you crazy. And you know what else would drive you crazy? Errors. This is a huge reason to track your net worth.
A surprising reason, but one that both of us have noticed.
A surprising but important reason that comes up. First of all, you track your net worth. You remember every single place where you have money. It's kept in a document so you don't forget, because a lot of the times you've been working at very different jobs. You might forget that 401k company that's holding your money from when you were 17 years old working at the Somerset Collection. But if you have it in a document, you remember.
I have a great example of this. My HSA, which I feel like HSAs are always in some random bank that people just made up, but it's fine. My HSA over the years has passed through many banks. First off, I have two for the two different companies that I worked with. And as they've switched banks, I've noticed that the fees have changed. Because I'm not working at those companies anymore, I suddenly have to pay the fees. Guess what? One of my banks, I called them because after 6 months of the bank switching, I noticed I was getting a $5 charge every month. $5 in my HSA is a pretty big deal to me because I thought the whole purpose was that I was supposed to have this money. It's my money. Why am I paying you to keep my money? Regardless, I called them and I said, hey, I noticed I wasn't getting a fee 6 months ago. Why am I getting one right now? And basically what they told me was, oh, we finally got our shit together and now you're getting fees. So I wasn't happy about that, but I'm glad I was able to call them and resolve it. And essentially I have to make a decision what to do with my money because do I want these fees or not? Are there ways to avoid it? I don't know, but I can figure that out now that I actually know what's going on.
Now, Michelle, I'm not trying to one-up you.
Oh,
okay. But let me tell you, tracking your net worth also means logging into all these accounts that you otherwise would not log into. This is why I recommend tracking your net worth at least every 1 to 2 months. Because you want to get in there, you want to make sure you know your passwords, and you want to make sure they didn't change the name on your account.
Let me tell you, Sammy, this is a game that I don't mind losing.
That might seem like the craziest thing in the world, and I really hope it happens to nobody else. But for some reason, one of my retirement accounts had a typo placed by another company trying to put in another person's information, and then that resulted in the name on my account being changed to somebody else's name.
Can you imagine? This is literally a never event. This should not happen. A random person from a random company should not be able to just mistype the social security number, which is what they told Sammy, and just oopsie daisy, somebody's name gets changed. And if it's that easy to change, as I said, when kindly yelling and escalating the issue for Sammy on the phone, if it's that easy to change, it should be a lot easier to change back, which it's been months, and that is not the case.
The good thing about having an aggressive sister who worked in sales is you can have her handle these kind of aggro calls, which I was handling politely before, and she knows exactly what to say. And let me tell you, she gets her rocks off that way. When she's in a bad mood, I'm like, I need to call this company if you want to help me.
This has happened multiple times. And let me tell you, I'm a nice person on the phone. I respect customer service. I also know their limitations. 99% of the time, kindness will get you what you need. And I told Sammy, hey, you can try your kind method. And if things aren't happening, which they did not for about 1 or 2 months, literally they made 0 progress. I was like, then I will hop on the phone. And guess what? When I hopped on the phone and I kindly and then aggressively escalated the issue, 1, they tried to get me off the phone. And 2, all of a sudden, there's an account manager. All of a sudden, this is getting escalated to the manager, even though the first guy on the phone told me he doesn't have a manager. And I had to say, I'm sorry, sir, nobody manages you. And he was like, I'm working remote. I'm like, so you're just working somewhere and you got no boss? Sounds like a really great job to me. I'm usually kind, I promise.
Now, and the good thing is because Michelle and I sound quite similar, I don't even tell them that I'm passing the phone to them. And now every time I call and then I start repeating the same spiel, they immediately recognize who I am and they are frightened.
It's a Jekyll and Hyde of customer service, Sammy and I.
Literally a Jekyll and Hyde. Because I'll be really nice and then Michelle will take the phone and go aggressive on them. Like, this woman has completely transformed.
This woman has multiple personalities. And they're not wrong. One of those personalities is me.
Anyway, important reason to track your net worth is just keeping track of these things. There are humans who are managing these accounts and they require a lot of details. You should not trust them to manage it well. These accounts hold anywhere from like equivalent of my annual spending to like decades of annual spending. So it's pretty important to make sure that people are managing it correctly.
Yeah, 100%. That alone is a good reason to track your net worth. If nothing changes, just to see and maybe develop a little bit of mistrust with the banking system or just understand that it's not perfect, I think that's very helpful.
Our last and final and most important reason to track your net worth is because it helps you appreciate the value of your investments.
Appreciate the appreciation, if you will.
Exactly. Like I mentioned in the intro, when I started tracking my net worth, it was like negative $100,000 because of my student loans. And then in June 2020, it was positive for the first time.
Yay!
I couldn't believe it. I had not paid off my student loans because I'm doing the loan forgiveness program. But despite that, my saving and investing did make it so I had a positive net worth, even though I have 6 figures of student loan debt. And that's the thing. We often feel trapped when we aren't keeping track.
Ooh, good one, Sammy.
Thanks.
That one surprised you a little bit.
It kind of did surprise me. And I remember the first time I had a month where my investments brought in more money than my job. And I'm not retired yet. This just happened to be a good month in the market. But it made me really appreciate that all that labor that I'm doing, time, stress, work after work, is really not in the long run going to be worth more than the investments that I have. Like, I could see that with my own eyes. And that also inspired me to keep investing and keep saving. If you don't track it, it's hard to keep that motivation. But when you track it, you're like, yes, this is the most amazing thing in the world.
People, take inspiration from Sammy's story. If you are in a place where you're tracking your net worth and you realize that maybe it's negative, maybe your liabilities, your debt are higher than your assets, that's okay. Know that by tracking, maybe checking it once a month, you will start to see it grow. You will start to make changes, to be honest, because when you are tracking your net worth, you're going to try to make changes to better it, and it will help you feel better. It does depend on the investments, I will say. There are certain investments I have. Like, say, that time someone suggested that marijuana stocks were going to go do great, and they did not for the next 6 years, and they still did not. Taught me a valuable lesson, watching that go down to literally cents. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to invest in crypto. I'm not going to invest in Nancy Pelosi's weirdo ETF, okay? I am going to stick with index funds. Index funds have been so reliable. I can check those with my net worth tracker, and I actually see what's paying off. So keep those things in mind. The point is that keeping an eye on it actually helps you feel better, because a lot of times you will notice the compounding, you'll start to make better decisions. And even if you're in a negative place right now, seeing the growth you will make over time, I promise you, you will switch from feeling negative to feeling inspired.
Takeaways.
Takeaways for this episode. It is really important to track your net worth. 1, because we can track the progress of our wealth, whether it's up, whether it's down, whether we start in the negative, whether we start really positive, we know where we are at. What gets measured gets managed. 2, you can find errors. And let me tell you, over the years, over time, you're going to find errors, whether it's on your part or whether it's on these companies who manage the money. You will find out places where things aren't going the way they should be. It's normal. It can happen. And tracking your net worth is how you keep an eye on that stuff. Lastly, you can appreciate the value of your investments, no pun intended. When we see that we are investing and it is growing, and we are saving more and it is growing, we get more and more inspired to save, because we know that that money is not just money, it is time, it is absolute freedom. And when we manage it well, we are stewards of not only our wealth, we are stewards of our short lives.
Community time.
Before we say goodbye, it's our community time. And we have some lovely shout outs from our community. First, from episode 188, I'm too scared to quit my job. Isabel wrote, "Hi, Sammy and Michelle. I really enjoyed this podcast and thought this would be a great time to let you both know." Thank you, Isabel. I'm on my own journey of exploring financial independence, debating taking a sabbatical to work on my fiction more, and just overall learning about having a less jobby mindset. Heck yeah, jobby mindset! I've listened to several episodes and appreciate your cheerful and practical advice. I don't have near-term plans to take the leap, but hearing your stories really help. Isabel, I love that. Thank you so much for leaving that comment. I know it took me a long time before I took a leap. Same with Sammy, but I do think it's helpful to start hearing these conversations, and it means a lot to us that it's been impactful to you.
Jess and Kevin also commented that they liked our episode on Summit of Greatness. They especially liked hearing about David Goggins, who they are both fans of, and Kevin even has the same David Goggins motivational speeches put to music in his Spotify playlist that I do. Warning, these are aggressively motivational and should be used with caution.
Also, Tamara, thanks for sharing this experience with us. Sounds like it was filled with self-awareness and empowerment. Love this episode. One day I will look into a summit retreat myself. Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much, Tamara. I'm glad it inspired you. Summit of Greatness, really positive experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And finally, Rochelle commented on our interview, The Financial Barriers to Escaping Domestic Violence, which, if you haven't listened to that, highly recommend it. It's a really interesting topic, and we learned so much from Rochelle. And she just said, thanks for having me on to talk about such an important topic. She is so well articulated on this, and it really made me appreciate and inspired me in terms of trying to figure out ways to help people in these situations. So take a look at our last episode. Otherwise, let us know, are there reasons to track your net worth that we forgot about? buildawealthyspirit.com. You too can leave us a comment, or you can send us an email. buildawealthyspirit.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rulebook and we rethink the status quo.